After reviewing 7 Dell Latitudes at the same time a year ago, Dell decided, that's a pretty cool guy. So they asked if I was willing to check out just one more, making this the very first big name manufacturer to source InnoIso a machine. Dell's request for me was simple: review the laptop however I want and to be honest and straightforward. They also mentioned that this is a professional device and not to be made for playing games, which the review should reflect. Now, as I got more and more familiar with the Dell Latitude 7340, I realized that it could fulfill a number of different purposes, and since I've been building my own business, I decided to review the Latitude from 3 different perspectives: a dedicated salesman, a software engineer, and an executive. So to give a little bit more detail, let me hand this off to our lead salesman. Being on the road all the time, I need my laptop to not weigh me down, be able to make it through the day, and to be equipped with anything I need for meetings. What immediately blew me away about the Dell Latitude 7430 is just how incredibly lightweight it is. I was never around for the advent of netbooks, but this feels like the modern iteration of that, but with the functionality of a pro and quality laptop. It's 21% lighter than the MacBook Air and 33% lighter than my Dell Latitude 5400. It's compact enough to fit into any briefcase while still having a larger 16:10 aspect ratio, 13-inch display. It's also nice that the design is professional and muted as to not draw any eye of my clients. In terms of the battery life, the Latitude did consistently make it through the normal workday, unless I was in Zoom or Teams meetings, in which case, unfortunately, the battery would drain in about 3 to 4 hours. What really stood out to me about this machine is how fast it wakes from sleep. I've gotten used to other Windows laptops going into a deep hibernation that requires a long boot time to load. This laptop seemed to always be ready for me, and with Windows Hello, it would log in immediately, either via the fingerprint or face unlock. As more and more laptops moved to just USB-C ports, it was refreshing to have a full-size USB-A port, and more importantly, a full-size HDMI port, so I can always connect to projectors in my meetings. Along with that, a great resolution webcam, when it works, we'll talk about it, and an optional SIM card so I can connect it with my wireless provider. This machine was great for on-the-go work. Remember when widescreen laptops took over 10 or so years ago, 20 or so years ago, and somehow the world just forgot about the taller aspect ratio? Well, even in its small package, the Dell Latitude 7340 offers a 16:10 aspect ratio, which adds a lot of vertical real estate when you're juggling code in Visual Studio Code and debugging for hours on end. And while it's not 4K, the 1920 by 1200 resolution on this is more than satisfactory with the screen size. Now, beyond the resolution and aspect ratio, the matte finish on the screen is the big standout feature for me. Gone are the days of the horrible glare that I experience on MacBooks and Surface devices when trying to code in VS Code dark mode. And when your mobile app needs testing, the touchscreen capabilities here are a nice added touch. However, there's a tiny hiccup here. The adaptive brightness on this device can be very finicky, especially when switching between applications. So I'll open VS Code and the screen will brighten to show the content, then I'll open Chrome in light mode and the screen will automatically dim. The adaptive brightness is just some feature that I don't think Windows has really gotten. Performance, as we all know, can make or break an experience. Booting up the Latitude, I instantly put this to the test in Visual Studio Code, building several applications from scratch, and even running the Android emulator to its limits. And guess what? It sailed through with flying colors. The i5 13th generation processor here with 16 gigs of RAM seemed to be enough in most cases. The keyboard is one of the most important features for me, and fortunately, the Latitude keyboard is pretty decent. It's a bit on the softer side compared to the Dell Latitude 5400, which just holds a special place in my heart, but after a brief adjustment period, I was typing away seamlessly. Coming to the software, the Latitude 7340 keeps it relatively nice and clean without a lot of added bloat. I've seen a lot of Windows laptops bogged down by this unnecessary extra bloatware, but it's comparatively a breath of fresh air, ready for whatever environment you want to build. So how does the Dell Latitude 7340 stack up from the corner office's viewpoint? Now, as an executive, I am a walking, talking security risk. But fortunately, Dell realized that as well when designing the Latitude. A physical camera shutter ensures that my privacy isn't compromised, and the auto wake sleep feature works great for eavesdropper prevention. Dell also has features like the performance optimizer, which prioritize my most used applications, meaning generally just office applications, ensuring swift performance when I need it the most. And there is some room for improvement. Look away detection, for example, needs a little bit of fine tuning because I can't have my screen dimming when I'm momentarily glancing away to look at my notes or look up to address my team. What's important to me is that the Dell Latitude just works and it doesn't have frequent problems and issues that requires me handing it to my IT team to wait for it to get replaced or repaired. And there are some exceptions. One of the most notable exceptions that I experienced was when I was in video calls. Quite frequently, I dial into a Teams or a Zoom video call, and the camera just would not work. Now, my IT guy says that might be related to a firmware or software issue related to the software that allows Dell to add on like a background blur and all that stuff before it gets to Zoom, and that's what might be causing the issue. But the bottom line for me is it means that my camera sometimes doesn't work on video calls, which hopefully Dell is able to repair it or fix it through future firmware upgrades, says my IT guy. Through using these in professional settings, I feel like I have a good idea of what works in a professional laptop and what doesn't. The 7340 is a very impressive laptop that gets most things right, even if it's not blisteringly fast, in a very portable machine. My experience with it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, I'll admit. I had issues, especially with the webcam, which kept on being spotty, and it felt firmware related. But generally, I do feel like Dell's software optimizer software offers a truly valuable and unique set of features that most pre-installed software just feel like bloat in comparison. Overall, the Dell Latitude 7340, while suffering from a few quirks, is an excellent companion for professionals in all walks of life. I appreciate Dell for providing this unit for a review, and as always, our opinions remain unbiased and true to our experience. We hope you had as much fun watching this unique review approach as we did filming it. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Stay up to date on the latest in tech by subscribing today. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it, and I'll catch you next one. See ya.